Developing this evening at 5, a major blow to one of Jacksonville's most ambitious infrastructure projects. A $147 million federal grant for the Emerald Trail has been stripped from President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Thank you for joining us. I'm Anthony Austin.
I'm Heather Crawford. We're glad you're with us tonight. So the funding was key to expanding the 30-mile trail, which aims to connect 14 neighborhoods across the city. Our Haj Abba has been pressing city leaders for answers. So Haj, is there any hope that this funding could potentially still be restored?
Yeah, there's definitely hope. So we do know that despite this major setback, city leaders say that they're still confident they can get the funding back for this project. And they're saying that this project has bipartisan support. The Emerald Trail is meant to connect 14 neighborhoods with 30-mile path for walkers and cyclists. Councilmember Matt Carlucci described the loss of the grant as disappointing.
It's a setback of a project that people have been working on for decades.
But the $147 million in federal funding would have helped build it was wiped from Trump's budget, which passed and was signed last week.
This project is so important to our quality of life in Jacksonville, to so many people's quality of life. And quality of life is really the key component to economic development.
It's a major setback, but city leaders say the trail is still a priority. They're exploring new ways to keep the project alive. Mayor Donna Deegan says the city is still committed and it's already working on a plan to reapply, saying the grant got cut because it fell under the Neighborhood Access and Equity Program. They say the Emerald Trail still has strong bipartisan support, and they're not giving up on finding future funding.
I know that our lawmakers, Representatives Rutherford and Bean, worked very hard to get us this grant as well, and I know they're still committed to making sure that we get the Emerald Trail finished as expeditiously as possible, and will work with us to get it resubmitted under a new name.
Now, we do know that this project is set to be completed by 2031, but moving forward, we're still trying to figure out whether or not that deadline will be pushed back. And moving forward, the City Hall also said that moving forward, as far as the grants and federal grants, they're relying on gas tax funds to finish completing this project. In Jacksonville, Haj Abba, First Coast News, on your side.
Haja, thank you. And we're hearing reaction today from our local lawmakers in Washington about funding for the Emerald Trail. Our Jeannie Blaylock is here now with more from Representative John Rutherford. Jeannie?
Heard the mayor mention John Rutherford, and just a few hours ago I talked with the congressman, and he does want to pursue the grant money, but in a different way. He says he was surprised the initial grant of $147 million was such a large single chunk. He says the key will be to break it up into smaller requests, say $5 to $8 million. And he says the request should be renamed. In his words, I believe moving forward, the city should look for grants focusing on economic development. Rutherford says initially Jacksonville requested funding under the Neighborhood Access and Equity Program. Now the city needs to show a need for helping people with business or public safety. Back to you, Anthony.
Thank you, Jeannie. New at 5, Bay Street in downtown Jacksonville is back open days ahead of schedule. It comes following a cave-in that shut down the road since Sunday evening. Cars and trucks once again moving in both directions. A black patch, as you see in this video, now marking the spot. And this is what Bay Street looked like earlier this week. JEA crews making repairs after a large hole opened up near the Maxwell Coffee Factory. It took several days, the agency blaming the cave-in on a broken sewage line. The road had been expected to be closed the rest of the week, but once again, it is now back open.
New tonight, one of the 3 people charged with murder and the death of this local father, Jared Bridegan, will get new legal representation. Henry Tennant, along with Mario Fernandez and Shanna Gardner, are charged in what prosecutors say was a murder-for-hire plot to kill Bridegan in February 2022. This all happened in Jacksonville Beach when Bridegan stopped to move the tire from the road after dropping off his 2 oldest children at the home of Gardner, his ex-wife, and her now estranged husband, Mario Fernandez. Prosecutors say Tennant, who pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, was renting a property from Fernandez. Tennant later tried to claim false testimony, then recanted that claim. Now, nearly 6 months after Tennant made the false testimony claim, the Public Defender's Office has dismissed itself in representing Tennant. He will now be represented by a private attorney. His next court date is set for August 7th.
Happening in about an hour, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters hosting his first town hall of the year. He told First Coast News yesterday these meetings are all about transparency, giving the public a direct line to law enforcement so you can let them know what's happening in your neighborhood. Right now, Christina Burgess is live outside the Church of 1122, the location over on the north side where the sheriff is expected to take the stage. And Christina, I know you've been digging into the topics that could come up tonight. What are people telling you?
Well, Anthony, this is more than just a community meeting. It's one of the few chances that people will have to speak directly to Sheriff T.K. Waters face to face. The sheriff will provide updates on key issues like crime trends and also department priorities. But most importantly, people will get that chance to ask the sheriff questions. Now, tonight's meeting is being held in District 6, an area where JSO does tend to respond to more crime. The North Side, San Mateo, and Ocean Way communities reside right here.
I'm hoping to gain the thoughts and the perspectives from the members of the community, what they're seeing, what they would like for us to address. It helps us shape policy and what we're going to do moving forward.
And this is the third year that Sheriff T.K. Waters hosts this town hall meeting. Again, tonight's meeting will be taking place behind me at the Church of 1122 right off Starrett Road. We'll have more for you tonight at 11. Reporting live on the north side, Christina Burgess, First Coast News on your side.
Christina, thank you. New information now about alligator Alcatraz and its environmental impacts. We've uncovered new court documents which include photos environmental groups say show an additional area of 11 acres that has been paved at the Immigration Detention Center in the Everglades. Now, the governor's office told First Coast News 2 weeks ago that no new paving would take place there. We sent the photos to the Florida Division of Emergency Management. They told us that that particular area, quote, consisted of a pre-existing cement pad that was installed more than 50 years ago. Adding, over time, a thin layer of dirt and grass had settled on top. A soil scientist says it was more than likely not a paved area, but land that had been cleared of brush and mowed for decades. The lawsuit against the state and the feds states that asphalt has been laid and is impacting the wildlife and water in the Everglades. President Trump says the U.S. will send more weapons to Ukraine to defend itself in its war against Russia. The president making that announcement just yesterday at the start of a dinner with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Defense Department had recently halted weapon shipments to Ukraine, citing concerns over the U.S. military stockpile. No details were provided on the specific weapons headed to Ukraine. Well, the Duval County Public School District is celebrating a historic milestone. For the first time ever, the district received an A grade by the state of Florida.
And today, the superintendent joined educators to celebrate this accomplishment. Riley Phillips joining us live now with reaction to the rating. And Riley, the superintendent, what is he telling you the reason that they made this top grade?
Yes, Dr. Christopher Bernier says it really came down to the leadership at the schools and the teamwork between the teachers and staff. This was his first year as superintendent. He was hired last summer. Getting that A grade was one of his goals and something he really wanted the schools to work towards this year. Along with the district-wide A rating, there were individual school success stories. Andrew Jackson High School received its first ever A grade. Ed White received its first ever B grade. And Annie R. Morgan Elementary went from an F to a C. Although the school is closing this upcoming school year, the principal tells me she focused on fostering a sense of community at the school to help bring that grade up.
I think it was all about building relationships with the students and the staff, building the sense of we can do it. We're better than an F rating by the state. Continuous monitoring of student progress. We celebrated every small win we had.
And there will be a formal celebration with all educators in the county coming up next month. Looking ahead, though, to the upcoming school year, since we are now just a little over a month away from students and teachers going back to the classroom, Dr. Bernier says their plans, their goals for the upcoming year will come from the strategic plan that the school board will vote on next month. Live in San Marco, Riley Phillips, First Coast News on your side.